Beloved, pause everything and feel the weight of this exact second, because it has been carved out for you with intention. And nothing about your arrival here is accidental. Not the silence you walk through, not the moments you question your worth, not the seasons where your presence felt overlooked or minimized, as if the rooms you entered forgot how to see you clearly. Because I saw it all. I saw the way doors closed without explanation, how your name was spoken with uncertainty instead of honor, how your absence was treated as convenient rather than consequential, and yet within that very quiet, within that disregard that tried to convince you that you were small, something sacred was forming, something unshakable was taking shape. Because while the world mistook your stillness for weakness, I was forging depth. While others mistook your patience for passivity, I was anchoring strength. And you did not merely survive those moments, you transcended them. You moved beyond the limited vision of those who could only measure value by noise and attention. And now I am calling to you directly, not as an echo, not as a distant whisper, but as a voice that knows your entire journey. And I ask you to declare with the full authority of everything you have endured and everything you have become that you claim your truth now, not timidly, not halfway, but fully sealing it with your breath, your heart, your lived experience. Because this is not a casual exchange. This is a sacred transaction between us. And I am waiting for your step, your inner agreement, your willingness to stand in what has already been prepared for you. So stay here, stay present. Do not rush past this moment, because there is a revelation unfolding about the very places and people that once tried to make you feel invisible. And the perspective has shifted completely. The silence that was meant to shrink you became the soil where your real power grew unchecked. The absence of validation forced you inward, where truth was waiting. And now the conversations have changed, even if you are not in the room to hear them, because certainty has left their voices and recognition has replaced it. They speak your name differently now, with pauses, with weight, with an awareness they cannot fully explain. Because the world has begun to track your journey, not loudly, not publicly, but with careful attention, searching for the essence you carry, trying to locate it elsewhere and failing every time. And the grief they feel is not envy of your success, but the slow realization that this unfolding was always meant to happen, that the doors they closed did not stop you, but redirected you. And now you move in circles they can no longer access, advancing into spaces your former self could never have entered. And you did not return to where you were diminished. You rose beyond reach. You did not just heal. You expanded past every expectation. And now your name carries gravity in the same environments where it was once dismissed. Because even in your absence, your influence continued to move, shaping outcomes, altering trajectories, and you never had to demand acknowledgement. You never had to argue for your worth. You never had to defend yourself, because the power of your becoming did the work for you. You did not engage in conflict. You did not respond with bitterness. You did not beg to be seen. You stood firm while they predicted your collapse, and you walked through the fire without carrying the smell of it. And now every place that once tried to reduce you carries the imprint of your victory. Not spoken with resentment, but with respect. Not as a warning, but as a testament. Because pride will not allow them to say it out loud. Yet they watch closely, studying the one they underestimated, learning from the very spirit they tried to dim. And those who once ignored you now feel the absence of what you brought. And this realization settles heavily, because you exceeded every boundary they set, and now your authenticity reshapes the environments you once tried to fit into. You were the one sidelined, spoken about quietly, left behind in narratives that no longer included you, yet history has a way of elevating the very souls it tries to erase. And now you have become the unspoken standard, the measure by which resilience is judged. The attempt to erase you failed, avoiding your impact is impossible. You are the living proof that endurance without bitterness creates authority. And hear this clearly. The satisfaction they once felt in excluding you has turned hollow. The power they thought they gained by separating from you has evaporated. The inflated sense of importance they derived from minimizing your struggles has collapsed. Because your name, once associated with difficulty, now evokes reverence. Your presence disrupts false confidence, Your genuine growth unsettles shallow exchanges, and your quiet strength exposes the error of old ways without a single accusation. And the truth is, you never sought their attention. You were never chasing affirmation. You were simply stepping into the space I designed for you. And now your existence speaks louder than any argument. You did not need to diminish anyone else to rise. You simply became undeniable. You are the shift, the mirror, the evidence of what is real. And this is not about correcting a past injustice. It is about the fulfillment of a deeper intention, because some souls are hidden until the moment they are needed, not for applause, but to reveal truth. And now the name they tried to silence carries weight they cannot escape. It echoes not as gossip, but as permanence, settling into their awareness as a reminder that they unknowingly prepared the stage for how you would be remembered. And now all they can do is watch, because who you have become holds substance, and those who refuse to acknowledge it feel an emptiness they cannot explain. Because you are no longer just someone who enters a room, you are meaning itself. Your presence carries context, history, depth, and even when they pretended not to notice, they measured themselves against you. Your decisions, your calm, your restoration after hardship lodged in their consciousness. And every time your name surfaces, it reactivates the memory of what they failed to extinguish. Do not misread their silence. It is heavy with recognition. The pause that follows your name is an admission without words, and you no longer need their approval because your life speaks for you. Your consistency tells the story, and where they once tried to remove you, they removed the balance you carried, because your absence did not just leave a gap, it took with it the calm that stabilized everything. They believed pushing you away would bring order, but they removed the very anchor that held it together. And now their world feels louder, less grounded, unraveling without obvious cause. And they ask themselves why nothing feels steady anymore. Because you were a refugee without trying to be. Your presence softened difficulties they never saw coming, and they mistook your steadiness for something expendable, only realizing its value when it was gone. And understand this, they did not distance you to protect themselves. They did it to preserve their ego, believing you were the problem, and now the foundation they relied on weakens because the piece they dismissed was essential, and they grieve privately. Not just missing you, but missing who they were when you were near. The clarity, the alignment, the quiet assurance, and do not carry guilt for leaving. Do not wonder if you should have stayed longer or explained more, because your role was never to fix what they refused to face. You were meant to shine, not to shrink for comfort, and I moved you to protect you, to position you for growth, and now they must face the disorder they ignored, because they chose to disregard the calm you embodied, and they did not simply misunderstand you. They distorted truth, believing themselves clever while diminishing their own future, and now their carelessness has become their teacher, because you became everything they said you would not, and the discomfort they feel is not fear of you, but recognition of themselves, because you rose without revenge, without comparison, without needing their permission, and your calm exposes their unrest. Your clarity reveals their confusion, and you were never there to threaten them. You were there to guide them away from trouble they now face alone. And they remember your warnings, your gentle insights, the truths they dismissed. And now those realities have arrived, not because of you, but after you left. So do not let their regret pull you backward. Your assignment there was complete, and some choose struggle over support, and they once took pleasure in your hardship, finding comfort in your pain because it distracted them from their own. But you carried your weight quietly, rebuilt yourself without applause, and now your peace unsettles them. Not because you shine, but because they hoped you would fail, and every step you take confirms that their assumptions were wrong. And you did not rise to prove them wrong. You rose because holding back was no longer possible, and I watched every moment, allowing their mockery to fade while your strength matured, and now their voices are quiet, their expressions guarded, because your existence highlights what is missing in their own lives. And do not dim yourself now to ease their discomfort. Do not apologize for your growth. This was always the design, not for punishment, but for alignment. And now your life is a mirror they cannot avoid, reflecting what they could have chosen, and they mistook your gentleness for weakness, your silence for surrender, and they feared you because they could not control you, because your peace did not depend on their chaos, and sincerity unsettles those invested in illusion. And now they face consequences not imposed, but chosen, because they rejected the hand that came to help, and they carry a regret not because you left, but because they ignored the version of themselves that emerged when you were near. And hear this, they did not fear losing you. They feared becoming more, and your presence invited growth they were not ready for. And now that invitation has passed, and they watch you move forward while they remain. And this separation is not physical but spiritual, born of choosing comfort over transformation. And you were leading them out of cycles they claimed to hate, but fear stopped them. And now their sadness is the echo of a future they released. And you were never meant to stay where you had to beg to be valued. You were meant to move freely, and your freedom now is complete, nurtured in unseen moments, and now live fully, not to prove anything, but because peace has unfolded naturally, and you owe no explanations to those who walked away. Their vision was limited by their own condition, and you were never meant to fit inside it. And ahead of you is clarity, alignment, relationships that recognize your depth without effort. And this strength you carry is not loud. It is rooted, born from connection to truth, and their sorrow belongs to them, not you, because you followed the guidance given, trusted the timing. And now the moment has arrived. Your presence is a statement, a testament beyond words. So let them wrestle with what they see. Your path continues, guided by a hand that has never left you, and welcome the calm that now defines your life, the assurance that grows with each step, because what is ahead resonates with who you truly are, and you are free to be fully yourself without justification. And you are not alone. You are part of a collective attuned to this moment, and this time carries purpose. And I place that purpose in your hands now. Let it reshape you. Let it flow through you to others, because my protection surrounds you. My care does not weaken. Nothing formed against you will succeed, and as long as you remain aligned, the way will open, obstacles will dissolve, threats will lose power, and peace will accompany you, because you are held, always, and every step ahead is woven intentionally. The veils that once protected you are lifting, and those who see you now are ready, not to idolize you, but to recognize authenticity and step forward without fear of misunderstanding. That season has ended. You are grounded now, prepared, supported, and the allies meant for you are approaching, resonating with your depth. And as clarity settles, act without hesitation, trusting the preparation, because I am not finished with you. This next season is being established with presence and purpose, and your peace will unsettle some, but that is not your burden. You did not seek to outshine anyone. You simply chose truth, and their discomfort is the sound of old narratives collapsing, not within you, but within them. So release their judgments. They do not define you. Your truth is secure, and now carry this freedom outward. Share it with those still bound by opinion, and commit to walking daily in this alignment. Return here when you need grounding, and seal this moment by receiving fully. Because I witness your choice, my protection surrounds you. Walk forward in peace and purpose, held completely in my care. Held completely in my care. And as you breathe into that assurance, let it sink deeper than thought, deeper than memory, deeper than every old reflex that once told you to brace for loss. Because this is the continuation of what was already unfolding the moment you stopped doubting whether you were allowed to exist without apology. And now I speak again without pause, because this flow was never meant to be interrupted, only deepened. And I want you to understand something with a clarity that cannot be shaken, that the peace you are standing in right now is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is not something that disappears the moment circumstances shift. It is forged. It is rooted. It is the kind of peace that has survived pressure and therefore cannot be undone by noise. And you did not arrive here by accident or by luck or by the approval of anyone who once questioned you. You arrived here because you kept walking even when nothing around you reflected progress, even when affirmation was absent, even when your heart carried questions that had no immediate answers. And every step you took in that unseen obedience mattered more than you realized at the time. Because while you were wondering if you were falling behind, I was repositioning you. While you were questioning your pace, I was protecting your depth. While you were tempted to explain yourself, I was teaching you restraint, because there is a power that only emerges in those who learn to remain whole without being understood. And you learn that power not by choice, but by necessity. And now it lives inside you as instinct, as calm, as discernment that no longer needs to announce itself. And this is why your presence carries weight now. Not because you demand space, but because space reorganizes itself around you. Not because you speak loudly, but because when you do speak, it lands with truth. And even your silence now is not empty. It is full. It is settled. It is authoritative in a way that unsettles those who still rely on chaos to feel alive. And I need you to recognize that the unease you sense in others when you walk into certain environments is not hostility. It is recognition colliding with denial. It is old narratives realizing they no longer apply. It is control dissolving where it once thought it had jurisdiction. And this is not something you need to manage or correct or soften. It is simply evidence that growth has occurred, and growth always disrupts systems built on stagnation. And there will be moments ahead where you will feel the subtle pull to shrink again. Not because you are weak, but because familiarity still whispers even after it loses authority. And in those moments, I want you to remember that you already outgrew the version of yourself that needed permission. You already survived the version of your life that taught you to be small, to be safe. And safety no longer requires contraction. It requires truth, and truth now lives in you as alignment, not performance. And as you continue forward, you will notice that the kinds of challenges you face will change, not disappear, but transform, because you are no longer being tested for endurance. You are being refined for stewardship. You are no longer being asked if you can survive pressure. You are being asked if you can carry clarity without ego, if you can hold authority without dominance, if you can walk in influence without losing humility. And these are quieter tests, subtler ones, because they occur in success, in visibility, in connection, in being seen accurately for the first time. And it can feel disorienting to be received well after being overlooked for so long. It can feel unfamiliar to be met with respect instead of resistance.